Hello, my name is Ninon. I'm French, and my story takes place in a small countryside in the south, a place where nothing usually happens. As I tell you this story, it has now been 2 years since it happened. I was 13 years old. One evening, my parents decided to go have dinner at friend's house, but I preferred to stay home. It was a Friday night and I was tired. It's actually quite common for my parents to leave me alone at home in the evening because I rarely go with them when they go out to eat or to parties. So, I'm used to being alone at night. I must admit that I often have this feeling of being watched when I'm alone at home, whether it's day or night. But I always thought it was just paranoia until that night. So, we're at the infamous night when my parents go to dinner at friend's house and leave me alone. I'm watching TV on the couch with my cat, and then I decide to go back to my room to be on my phone. After several minutes, I hear noises coming from the kitchen. Actually, that's quite common, but once again, I chalk it up to fatigue and stress. Then a little later, I hear what sounds like a glass being placed on the dining table. The stress becomes more and more intense, and I do the dumbest thing to do in those moments. I went to see, and there was indeed a glass on the dining table. And it couldn't have been me because I always have a bottle in my room, and I only drink from it. The stress rises even more, but at the same time, I prefer to stay in denial and tell myself that I left the glass on the table while clearing it. As I'm about to return to my room, I hear something scratching behind the garage door. I'm about to open it, thinking it's my cat wanting to come in, but I freeze when I reach for the handle, and I remember that my cat was on the couch with me earlier. So, I turn my head to check if he's still there, and unfortunately, he is, and so is my dog. At that moment, I'm genuinely worried, and I rush back to my room, but on the way back, I notice that my parents' bedroom window and the bathroom window are wide open. At that point, I didn't know what to do, so I locked myself in my room with my cat and dog and scrolled through TikTok, trying to forget about this incident. When my parents came back, I acted as if nothing had happened. I don't really know why, but currently, no one knows about this story. First of all, English isn't my first language. I'm sorry if everything isn't 100% clear. This story takes place a few years ago while I was still with my ex-GF. I am 22, was 17 to 18 at this moment. I was living with my parents and we lived in a little town of 300 people. It's literally the campaign with 3 farms in this town, which includes lots of fields. We had the habits of walking in those fields thanks to a little path which is really old. There's place for only one car/truck/tractor. It was an afternoon, 5/6 p.m., and we decided to eat some stuff into a field near the road. So we can see the road and people on the road can see us. The field, which belongs to my neighbor, who are okay with the fact that we're here, is separated from the road thanks to barbed wire. It's a few miles from my parents' house. We smoke weed, we drink, we eat, we listen to music, everything is all right. However, at one point, a car parked on the middle of the road and a guy went out of his car and is doing stuff on the bushes. At this point, I'm thinking, okay, the dude is just picking stuff like nuts or whatever because it's the end of the summer. But I keep an eye on him. I talk with my GF just like I did all afternoon until then, and I look back at him. The guy is standing still, behind his car, and he's looking right at us. Motionless. I don't say anything, and look back at my GF. I give another look 30 seconds to 1 minute later. The guy has moved, he's now at the other side of his car, and same thing. No motion. Just looking at us. The same process is about to be repeated 2 more times, with him at different location around his car. I have chills, and thinking this situation isn't normal at all. The guy suddenly went back into his car and moved away. At this moment, I told to my GF, pick your things, we're moving. She thinks I'm kinda overreacting, thinking I'm paranoid because of the weed we smoked, but she listens to me. We're back on the road, going the other way the guy went. The road is a circle, every way leads back to my house. And guess who has turned around and is coming right bang us with his car? This guy. Still looking at us while driving. He keeps his road and turns around, once again, to keep staring at us. This process repeats 2 times. At this moment, my GF told me I was right. So we took his plate and tried to call my parents. No one is answering. The last time the guy passed at our level, I can clearly see something on his passenger seat, but what? But my neighbor came right behind him with his truck. I stopped my neighbor and told her what we just witnessed. She get us in the truck. We went back to my parents' home. My dad is a cop. I told him the plate. He looked at it. The car belonged to a grandma and was stolen. End of this part of the story. Few weeks later, as every day, I go take my bus in the next town, which is 7 minutes of bike. It was still dark because it's pretty early in the morning. When I left my parents' home on my biker, I noticed light behind me. It was his car. I don't know how he knew I was there. Maybe it's pure bad luck from me, but I'm 100% sure it was his car. He followed me until I took a path which a car can't use, only bikes and pedestrians can take. I turned off my light and drove until I went to my bus in the complete dark in order to not be seen by this guy. I kept using this way for the next 2 years, and I've never met him again. To the guy who stole a grandma's car and stalked me and my GF, let's not meet again. For some background first, I'm a 29-year-old woman. I live in an apartment in a sketchier side of my town, so I'm not unaccustomed to strange people pulling up and strange things happening. I've been through a home break-in, so I'm very hypervigilant when it comes to keeping myself and my home safe. I also smoke cigarettes, nasty habit I know, but having cats and not wanting my house to reek like smoke, I'll walk out to my balcony to smoke. That's exactly what I was doing when this happened. I was sitting on my balcony, smoking and just enjoying my night, when I noticed a car I've never seen before pull into the back parking lot of my apartment right by my balcony. I initially felt a bit off, but I didn't want to come off as being the paranoid neighbor, so I keep sitting and smoking my cigarette. Then I hear footsteps making a beeline through my backyard. There's a large and burly man that I've never seen before walking briskly through my backyard. Again, I still don't try to make much of it because they might be there for my neighbor. My anxiety is definitely on alert, but not in panic mode. Until I realize he's going straight for my portion of the backyard. He then does something that is still freaking me out as I type this. He stops right in my backyard and looks up at me on my balcony, not saying a word. Now I'm in absolute panic mode. I audibly say, "Oh fuck no," spring up, slam and lock my balcony door, run to my upstairs bathroom, and dial 911. I listened to every sound from downstairs while I stood panicking in my bathroom, and truthfully it sounded like someone was messing with my back door. I don't know for sure because I was in hypervigilance. I do know he was in my backyard for a few minutes because I was in my bathroom for several minutes until I decided to peek out my balcony window. I saw him walking to his car and getting in. That also tells me that I don't think he was here to rob me, but something more sinister. Luckily, he was lazy because again, I live on the cheaper side of town, so you can imagine the quality of my doors and locks. I'm really hoping it was just some guy who was drunk/high and had the wrong house, but my gut is telling me otherwise.